Welcome to Shining a Light, the podcast that uncovers the stories hiding in plain sight. I'm your host, Tabitha, and today we embark on a profound and tragic journey into the depths of human spirituality and the quest for transcendence. We delve into the story of Heaven's Gate, a tale that captivates, intrigues, and ultimately shocks the world. In the early 1970s, two individuals from vastly different backgrounds crossed paths, setting into motion a series of events that would lead to one of the most heartbreaking and enigmatic stories of our time. Marshall Applewhite and Bonnie Nettles, with their charismatic presence and profound convictions, attracted a small but growing number of followers. These individuals, disillusioned with mainstream society and seeking deeper meaning, found solace and purpose in Marshall and Bonnie's teachings. Join me as I explore the early years of Marshall Applewhite, the mystic nurse Bonnie Nettles, and their fateful encounter that birthed a new belief system. We'll journey through the formation of Heaven's Gate, their spiritual exercises, and the tragic events that unfolded in their quest for the next level. This is not just a story about faith and devotion. It's a reminder of the power of belief and the lengths to which individuals will go in their search for meaning and transcendence. So let's begin our exploration of the path to Heaven's Gate. Our story begins in the quiet, dusty town of Spur, Texas, where Marshall Herff Applewhite was born on May 17, 1931. Known for his charisma and intelligence, Marshall was drawn to the arts from a young age. He attended Austin College, nurturing his love for music, and eventually earned a degree in philosophy from the University of Colorado. Marshall once said, quote, "Music was my first love, my escape. It spoke to me in ways words alone could not," end quote. His career as a music professor and choir director seemed fulfilling. He married and had 2 children, and for a time, his family life brought him joy and stability. However, beneath the surface, Marshall grappled with a growing sense of disillusionment. His marriage ended in divorce, a significant personal setback that contributed to his emotional distress and sense of loss. Additionally, he faced professional disappointments and felt unfulfilled in his career path, leading him to leave his position and seek new directions. After a brief stint in the United States Army, Marshall found himself at a crossroads, yearning for something more profound. Bonnie Lou Nettles came into the world on August 29, 1927, in Houston, Texas. Raised in a family with a deep interest in theosophy and metaphysical subjects, Bonnie's curiosity about the mysteries of the universe was piqued from an early age. She pursued a career in nursing, a profession that allowed her to care for others while also indulging her fascination with the human condition. Bonnie once shared, quote, "I've always felt a connection to something greater, something beyond our physical reality. Nursing was my way of grounding myself, but my mind was always wandering the stars," end quote. Marshall's life took a dramatic turn when he was admitted to a psychiatric hospital following a series of personal and professional setbacks. It was here, in this unlikely setting, that he met Bonnie Nettles. Bonnie, working as a nurse at the hospital, was drawn to Marshall's intensity and intelligence. Their connection was immediate and profound. They shared a belief in the existence of planes of consciousness and the possibility of extraterrestrial life. Together, they began to explore these ideas more deeply, each finding in the other a reflection of their own deepest thoughts and aspirations. Marshall later reflected, quote, "Meeting Bonnie was like finding a kindred spirit. We talked for hours about life, death, and the cosmos. It was as if we had known each other for lifetimes." End quote. As Marshall and Bonnie's relationship deepened, so too did their spiritual convictions. They experienced a series of profound visions and revelations, which they interpreted as signs of their divine mission. They came to believe that they were the two witnesses mentioned in the book of Revelations, destined to prepare the way for a new level of human evolution. Bonnie once declared, quote, "We are not just here by chance, Marshall. We have a purpose, a mission to fulfill. We are meant to guide others to a higher plane of existence." End quote. As the 1970s unfolded, Marshall Applewhite and Bonnie Nettles began to share their evolving spiritual insights with others. Their charismatic presence and profound convictions attracted a small but growing number of followers. These individuals, disillusioned with mainstream society and seeking deeper meaning, found solace and purpose in Marshall and Bonnie's teachings. Marshall proclaimed, quote, "We are not just a group, we are a family, a spiritual family bound by our shared beliefs and our commitment to transcending the limitations of this world." End quote. The group, initially known as Human Individual Metamorphosis, held secretive meetings and retreats in various locations across the United States. In the mid-1970s, they rented a house in Waldport, Oregon, where they lived communally and engaged in intense spiritual discussions and exercises. They also spent time in Denver, Colorado, continuing to attract new members and prepare for what they believed would be a cataclysmic transformation of the earth. One follower shared, quote, "Being with Marshall and Bonnie in Waldport, I felt like I had found my true purpose. We were preparing for a journey beyond anything we could imagine." End quote. The group often retreated to remote locations such as national forests and campgrounds to escape the distractions of the outside world and focus on their spiritual development. These retreats allowed them to engage in rigorous spiritual exercises designed to purify their minds and their bodies. At the core of Heaven's Gate belief system was the concept of the next level, which they saw as a higher plane of existence. This was not just a metaphorical or spiritual ideal, but a literal, physical place that members believed they could reach. The higher plane was described as a spiritual or non-physical dimension where beings existed in a state of pure consciousness or spirit, free from the limitations and impurities of the physical world. Bonnie explained, quote, "The next level is our true home, a place of perfection and eternal life. It is where advanced beings live in harmony and unity with the divine. It is where our souls can finally be free." End quote. Marshall Applewhite and Bonnie Nettles taught that the earth was merely a temporary stopping point, a place where souls were trapped in human bodies. They believed that these human bodies were containers or vehicles that could be shed, allowing the soul to ascend to the higher plane. This higher plane was often associated with extraterrestrial life, where advanced beings possessed greater wisdom, power, and spiritual purity than humans. Marshall stated, quote, "Our physical forms are not who we truly are. They are merely vessels that we must transcend to reach our true destiny in the next level, a realm of eternal life and perfection." End quote. Members of Heaven's Gate believed that the higher plane was a place of perfection, harmony, and peace, free from the conflicts and struggles of the physical world. To reach this higher plane, they believed they had to undergo a process of spiritual transformation, which involved strict discipline, including celibacy, a vegetarian diet, and the renunciation of personal possessions. By purifying their minds and bodies, they sought to overcome the limitations of the physical world and achieve a state of spiritual readiness. One follower expressed, quote, "We are not of this world. Our true essence is divine, and our destiny lies among the stars of the next level, where we can exist in a state of bliss and unity with the divine," end quote. To prepare for their journey to the next level, members of Heaven's Gate engaged in rigorous spiritual and physical exercises. These practices were designed to help them detach from their human identities, purify their bodies, and achieve a higher state of consciousness. Marshall declared, quote, "Our physical forms are vessels that we must purify and discipline to prepare for our ascent to the next level. Through rigorous practices, we can overcome the limitations of the human body and achieve spiritual readiness," end quote. The physical discipline endured by the members of Heaven's Gate included several challenging practices. Strict dietary guidelines. Members adhered to a strict vegetarian diet, avoiding all forms of meat and animal products. They believed that a pure diet would help cleanse their bodies and elevate their spiritual state. This dietary discipline was seen as a way to reject the impulses and desires of the physical world. One member shared, quote, "We followed a strict vegetarian diet, believing that it would purify our souls and bring us closer to the next level. It was a constant reminder of our commitment to transcending the physical world," end quote. Fasting. Regular fasting was a common practice among the group. Members would abstain from food for extended periods, believing that this physical sacrifice would strengthen their spiritual resolve and demonstrate their dedication to the group's beliefs. Another member reflected, quote, "Fasting was a way to discipline our bodies and focus our minds on the spiritual journey. It was challenging, but it reminded us that our true sustenance came from our faith and our connection to the next level," end quote. Sleep deprivation. Members often engaged in prolonged periods of meditation and spiritual exercises, which resulted in sleep deprivation. They believed that reducing sleep would help them detach from their physical needs and focus more intensely on their spiritual goals. A follower explained, quote, "We spent long hours in meditation and study, often sacrificing sleep to deepen our spiritual practice. It was a way to show our commitment and to train our minds to transcend the physical body," end quote. Physical labor. In addition to their spiritual exercises, members engaged in physical labor as a form of discipline. This included manual work such as gardening, construction, and other tasks that required physical exertion. They saw this labor as a way to strengthen their bodies and demonstrate their willingness to serve the group. One member stated, quote, "Physical labor was a part of our daily routine, a way to discipline our bodies and contribute to the community. It was a reminder that our journey to the next level required both spiritual and physical preparation," end quote. Celibacy. Members practice celibacy as a form of physical discipline, renouncing all sexual relationships and desires. They believe that celibacy would help them detach from earthly attachments and focus on their spiritual journey. A follower shared, quote, "Celibacy was a fundamental part of our discipline, a way to reject the physical desires that tied us to the human world. It was a sacrifice that brought us closer to our true selves and our ultimate goal," end quote. These physical disciplines were integral to the members' preparation for the next level. They believed that by purifying and disciplining their bodies, they could overcome the limitations of the physical world and achieve a state of spiritual readiness. Their unwavering commitment to these practices demonstrated their dedication to the group's beliefs and their ultimate journey to transcendence. As Heaven's Gate continued to grow and evolve, a significant and unexpected event occurred that would deeply impact the group's beliefs and direction. Bonnie Nettles, the co-founder and spiritual leader of Heaven's Gate, was diagnosed with cancer. Despite undergoing surgery to remove an eye due to the disease in 1983, the cancer eventually metastasized to her liver and became terminal. Marshall reflected, quote, "Bonnie's strength and vision were the foundation of our mission. Even as she faced her illness, her faith and commitment to our cause never wavered." End quote. Bonnie Nettles passed away on June 19, 1985, at the age of 57 at Parkland Memorial Hospital in Dallas, Texas. During her treatment, she used the pseudonym Shelley West. Her death was a profound and pivotal moment for Heaven's Gate, challenging the very core of their beliefs. One follower expressed, quote, "Bonnie's passing was a profound and confusing moment for us. We had believed that we were not supposed to experience sickness or death. We were supposed to be picked up by aliens and ascend to the next level together. Her death forced us to rethink our understanding of our journey and our beliefs." End quote. The group had believed that their physical bodies were merely vessels of their souls and that they would eventually be transported to the next level without experiencing death. Bonnie's illness and subsequent death contradicted this belief, creating a crisis of faith within the group. They had expected to be physically taken to the next level by extraterrestrial beings, and Bonnie's death challenged this fundamental aspect of their doctrine. Marshall shared, quote, "We were taught that our bodies were just containers and that we would ascend to the next level without experiencing the physical death of this world. Bonnie's passing was a test of our faith and understanding." End quote. In response to her death, Marshall Applewhite had to reinterpret their beliefs to maintain the group's cohesion and purpose. He explained to the followers that Bonnie had merely left her vehicle, meaning her body, but her soul continued her work on a different plane. This reframing of the body as a container for the soul, not essential to ascension, allowed the group to reconcile their beliefs with the reality of Bonnie's death. Marshall stated, quote, "Bonnie has not left us. She has simply transitioned to the next level ahead of us. Her soul continues to guide us, and we must continue our preparations to join her. Her physical departure was not an end, but a transformation." End quote. This shift in doctrine was crucial for the group. It allowed them to reinterpret physical death as a transition to the next level, with the soul transferring to a new existence. This new belief laid the groundwork for the group's eventual mass suicide in 1997, which was seen as a necessary step toward their ultimate ascension. One member shared, quote, "We came to understand that our physical forms were just vessels, temporary containers for our souls. Our true essence was our soul, and death was merely a transition to a higher plane of existence. Bonnie's death, though tragic, showed us that we could still achieve our ultimate goal of ascending to the next level." End quote. This reinterpretation of death and the physical body allowed Heaven's Gate to continue their spiritual journey, despite the profound loss of their co-founder and spiritual leader. It was a testament to their unwavering commitment to their beliefs and their ultimate journey to transcendence, even in the face of unexpected and challenging circumstances. As Heaven's Gate grew and their spiritual journey intensified, the group needed to find ways to sustain themselves financially. While their primary focus was always on their spiritual mission, they engaged in various activities to support their communal lifestyle and continue their preparations for the next level. Marshall declared, quote, "Our mission is of the utmost importance, and we must find ways to support ourselves while staying true to our path. We are not of this world, but we must navigate it to achieve our ultimate goal," end quote. To generate income, members of Heaven's Gate took on various jobs and projects that allowed them to remain mobile and committed to their spiritual practices. Some of the ways they made money included odd jobs and temporary work. Members often took on temporary employment, such as gardening, construction work, and other manual labor jobs. These jobs provided the necessary income to support the group without tying them down to a specific location, allowing them to continue their spiritual exercises and communal living. One member shared, quote, "We worked odd jobs here and there, just enough to keep us going. It wasn't about the money. It was about sustaining our mission and our family," end quote. Computer and technical services. As the group evolved, some members with technical skills began offering computer-related services. They provided web design, software development, and other IT services to clients. This not only generated income, but also allowed them to use their skills in a way that aligned with their beliefs. Another member reflected, quote, "Some of us had skills in computers and technology. We used these skills to offer services which helped support our group and allowed us to focus on our spiritual journey," end quote. Donations and contributions. Followers who joined the group often contributed their personal savings and assets. This included selling all their possessions, homes, cars, and personal belongings, and donating the proceeds to Marshall Applewhite and Heaven's Gate. Some members were millionaires who gave up all their wealth to support the group's mission, believing that material possessions were merely temporary and that their true treasure lay in the next level. One notable example is Nicholas Humphrey, an heir to the Nicholas Sheffield pharmaceutical fortune. Known for the brand Nicorette, despite his privileged background and significant inheritance, Nicholas became disillusioned with his life and material world. He joined Heaven's Gate in the early 1990s, renouncing his wealth and giving up all his worldly possessions to fully commit to the group's beliefs and practices. Nicholas sold his assets and donated the proceeds to Heaven's Gate, demonstrating his unwavering commitment to their spiritual journey. A member shared, quote, "Nicholas was one of us who had it all, wealth, privilege, and a promising future, but he chose to give it all up for the promise of the next level. His story is a testament to our shared belief that true fulfillment lies beyond the material world," end quote. Selling crafts and goods. The group occasionally sold handmade crafts, artwork, and other goods at local markets and fairs. This not only provided a source of income, but also allowed them to interact with the public and spread their message in a subtle way. One member explained, quote, "We created crafts and artwork, selling them at local markets. It was a way to make a little money and share our message with the world, even if just in a small way," end quote. Despite their financial activities, Heaven's Gate remained focused on their spiritual journey. Their work and income generating activities were always secondary to their ultimate goal of transcending the physical world and ascending to the next level. They lived simply and communally, pooling their resources to support their shared mission and prepare for what they believed would be their ultimate destiny. As the 1990s unfolded, Heaven's Gate continued to evolve and prepare for their ultimate journey to the next level. Seeking a place that could accommodate their growing group and provide the isolation necessary for their spiritual practices, Marshall Applewhite and the members of Heaven's Gate decided to move to California. Marshall declared, quote, "California offered us the space and solitude we needed to focus on our mission. It was a place where we could live communally away from the distractions of the outside world and prepare for our ascent to the next level." End quote. In California, the group rented a large mansion in the San Diego area. This secluded residence became their final home, a place where they could live together, engage in their spiritual exercises, and await the sign that would indicate the time had come for their transition. One follower shared, quote, "Our new home in California was a sanctuary, a place where we could fully commit ourselves to our spiritual journey. We lived simply, focusing on our preparations and supporting one another as we awaited the moment for our ascension." End quote. The group's belief in the next level and their commitment to their mission remained unwavering. They continued to engage in rigorous spiritual practices, including meditation, scripture study, and physical discipline. Their communal lifestyle was marked by a sense of unity and shared purpose as they prepared for what they believed would be their ultimate destiny. Marshall reflected, quote, "We knew that our time on earth was temporary, and we remained vigilant, watching for the sign that would signal the time had come for our journey to the next level. Our faith and dedication never wavered, even as the world around us continued to change." End quote. In early 1997, the members of Heaven's Gate became convinced that the sign they had been waiting for had arrived. The appearance of the comet Hale-Bopp in the night sky was interpreted as a celestial event of profound significance. They believed that a spaceship was trailing the comet and that it was their chance to leave Earth and ascend to the next level. Bonnie had once declared, quote, "The comet Hale-Bopp is our sign, our opportunity to shed our human containers and reach a higher plane of existence. We must be ready to take this final step on our journey, to leave behind the physical world and achieve our true destiny." The members of Heaven's Gate wore very specific and symbolic matching outfits during their mass suicide, which were carefully chosen to reflect their beliefs and unity. The members wore matching black shirts and black pants. The color black was likely chosen for its symbolic association with unity, formality, and perhaps the unknown or the infinite, which aligned with their beliefs about transcending to the next level. They wore new black and white Nike Decade athletic shoes. The choice of Nike shoes was quite specific and symbolic. The members believed that wearing these shoes signified their readiness and preparation for the journey ahead. The Nike brand, known for its association with athleticism and performance, might have been seen as a symbol of their readiness to perform their final act of transition. Additionally, the shoes being new and matching could represent their collective step into a new existence. The uniformity in their attire was a powerful visual statement of their unity and shared purpose. It underscored their belief in leaving behind their individual identities and earthly attachments to ascend together to the next level. To expedite their deaths, the members of Heaven's Gate used a lethal cocktail. They believed that this method would allow them to peacefully transition from their physical bodies to the next level. The use of this cocktail was a calculated decision intended to ensure a swift and painless departure. The mass suicide took place over 3 days, from March 24th to March 26, 1997. The members followed a specific order, with the leaders and most committed members going first, followed by the others. This order was believed to demonstrate their dedication and readiness to ascend to the next level. Before their deaths, the members of Heaven's Gate recorded farewell videos explaining their beliefs and reasons for their actions. They also sent a final message to the world, calling the authorities to inform them to their decision. This call was made to ensure that their bodies would be discovered and their message would be heard. The authorities found the bodies of the 39 members of Heaven's Gate in the mansion in San Diego. The scene was one of eerie tranquility, with the members lying peacefully dressed in their matching outfits, ready for their journey to the next level.
The anonymous call came into the San Diego County Sheriff's Department between 3:15 and 3:30 this afternoon, asking deputies to check on the well-being of the occupants in this 9,200-square-foot home in exclusive Rancho Santa Fe.
The first thing that he met were approximately 10 bodies.
Sheriff's officers say they found dozens more in a subsequent search, all young men, 18 to 24 years old.
Laying on their back with their hands at their sides, and appearing as if they had fallen asleep. There were no visible signs of trauma on any of the bodies.
Investigators report the victims were similarly dressed in dark-colored clothing. Through his attorney, the owner of the property says he rented it to a religious group. Neighbors reported that 5 to 10 people had lived in the house since October but had no contact with them, though one man reports seeing a number of people over the weekend at the base of the long driveway that leads to the home. The arrival of San Diego County's district attorney was just one more indication that this was no ordinary investigation.
We'll take it very slowly. I just want to tell you that this is going to be an all-night proposition because we take it slow and easy. We don't know what we have yet. It appears to be something, but we don't know at this time.
This videotape from the air shows investigators collecting evidence outside the 9,200-square-foot home. The sheriff's office says at least 12 homicide investigators are on scene.
It appears to be a homicide, but it could be something other than that.
The story of Heaven's Gate is a complex and tragic tale of faith, devotion, and the search for meaning in a changing world. It serves as a reminder of the power of belief and the lengths of which individuals will go in their quest for spiritual fulfillment. Marshall Applewhite once declared, quote, "Our journey may have ended in tragedy, but our beliefs and our commitment to a higher purpose will live on. We are not gone. We have simply transcended to a new plane of existence." End quote. As we reflect on the story of Heaven's Gate, we are left to ponder the mysteries of life, death, and the cosmos. It is a story that challenges our understanding of reality and invites us to explore the depths of our own beliefs and aspirations. The legacy of Heaven's Gate continues to captivate and intrigue, serving as a testament to the human spirit's unyielding search for meaning and transcendence. As we conclude today's episode of Shining a Light, we are left to ponder the mysteries of life, death, and the cosmos. The story of Heaven's Gate is a complex and tragic tale of faith, devotion, and the search for meaning in a changing world. It serves as a reminder of the power of belief and the lengths of which individuals will go in their quest for spiritual fulfillment. The legacy of Heaven's Gate continues to captivate and intrigue, serving as a testament to the human spirit's unyielding search for meaning and transcendence. Thank you for joining me on this journey. If you found today's episode thought-provoking, please share it with others who might also find it of interest. Join me next time as we continue to shine a light on the stories that hide in plain sight. If you or someone you know is struggling with thoughts of suicide, please reach out to the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 1-800-273-TALK. That's 1-800-273-8255. It's available 24/7, and they are there to help. Additionally, if you or someone you know is involved in a cult and seeking a way out, please contact the Cult Awareness and Information Center for support and guidance. Until then, keep questioning, keep exploring, and keep seeking the depths of your own spiritual journey. Goodbye for now.